Hey everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Neil with BIKEPACKING.com, and today I sit down with a dear friend of mine and a genuinely good human being, Jefe Branham. Jefe is the new race director for the Colorado Trail Race, and Jefe and I kind of chat about the 2020 Colorado Trail Race and the correlation between that and COVID-19. So I hope you enjoy this brief chat with Jefe. If you have any comments or questions, please leave them in the comment section below. And as always, thanks so much for watching. Jefe, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, it's good to be here.
Yeah. So where do you live, Jefe? And what do you do for a living?
I live in Gunnison, Colorado, and I split my time between cooking and wrenching on bikes.
Sweet.
Yep.
And you work, Firebrand, right?
Yep. Currently
Nice.
just working at the Firebrand. Yeah.
Sweet. Awesome.
Yep.
Cool. So how have things been going in Gunnison with the pandemic and whatnot?
It's definitely been interesting. I think that in general, it's been fairly easy for me. I was off of work for about 3 weeks, and but I've been back to work since then. So I really just had like a 3-week interlude of weirdness. And the county itself got on things pretty fast. I felt like they were fairly proactive, and it seems like they've contained things. And I've heard that there's been no new cases for a couple weeks, and that the hospitals cleared things out, and that it's fairly stable here. Things are going to be interesting as we just open things up to tourism.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how that changes. But I've heard that Gunnison may have cycled through a lot of it. So it's very possible that a lot of people, I don't know, we'll see. There's a lot of things to be tested, and this is going to be one of those places, I think.
For sure. Yeah,
But,
small town, small hospital,
yeah.
small infrastructure.
Yeah.
But that's interesting. They opened up tourism again. Do you?
Yep.
I would assume it's still not going to be like as crazy as a normal summer. But have you seen people start trickling in?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. No, it was. I think it was happening before they even opened it, really.
Yeah.
But now it's definitely busy.
Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't seem quite as crazy, for sure, but it's definitely busy.
Yeah. Cool. So for folks that don't know, you are now the quote unquote race director of the Colorado Trail. What does that even entail? What does that mean?
It's a good question. I was really kind of hoping that being a race director meant that I put pretty pictures of the trail up on the website and tell people not to poop in the woods incorrectly. I really thought that was going to be my job. And let's face it, that COVID kind of really kind of changed all that a lot. Kind of made me realize how much responsibility I actually really did step into. And so in the current situation, that means I've been doing a lot more research, looking into a lot of other things that I don't necessarily look into, like public health orders for specific counties, for the state itself, just getting more versed on stuff like that, talking with more politicians and business owners and chambers of commerce and stuff like that. So it's been interesting. But yeah, I mean, I hope I go back to just picking a date and, telling people to be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Hopefully.
So I guess maybe just a little context before we get into all that stuff. What, how long has the Colorado Trail Race been going on? Who is kind of the person organizing it, and how many actual Colorado Trail races have you participated in?
I've done 8 races. Well, I finished 8. I started one other one, so I guess I've started 9.
Yeah.
Altogether. Yeah. And the Colorado Trail Race began in 2007.
Okay.
And it's actually kind of interesting because there was 10 people who started back then. So we were social distancing before we knew it.
Yeah.
Kind of, sort of. But anyways, Stefan Grabal was in charge of it prior. And I think Stefan did a really, really good job because the course really evolved. It's almost, I think probably 30% of it's different than it was back in 2007. And it's really evolved and become a really awesome single track race. So I think Stefan did a really good job. But he felt like he just wasn't really as connected to the bikepacking community as he felt like he should be to keep putting it on, and just didn't want to put the time and effort into kind of keeping up with things that he wasn't really interested in so much. So
understandable.
Yeah. And,
Yeah, he's a climbing rat now, right?
yeah, yeah. And he's got 3 kids, and
Yeah,
he works a lot, and
for sure.
yeah, he's got his hands full. And yeah, I mean, when he asked me, I was definitely like, oh, I'd love to do it.
Yeah,
You know?
totally. And you've hiked the route, right?
Yeah, yeah, I've
Backpacked it.
hiked it. I've backpacked it. Excuse me, I've backpacked it before I ever rode it.
Yeah,
I did it over a couple different summers, but yeah, I've hiked the whole thing.
cool.
Yeah,
That's impressive.
it's an awesome trail.
There's not many people that can say
As
they
you know,
bike packed it and backpacked it.
that's probably true.
Yeah,
But I bet you there's in
there's
Colorado are pretty active people. I'd
totally.
be surprised.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. All right, so what was kind of the final straw then? So I know that Waterton Canyon. I think Waterton Canyon's still closed to today.
It's still closed as far as I know. I heard rumor that it might open this summer,
Okay.
but they weren't really sure when.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Yeah. So
And,
what was the final straw then in canceling at least the whole group start? And when was the group start planned on
uh,
happening?
July 26th, I think it was.
Okay.
Sunday. I can't remember if that's the 26th or the 27th. I really should know that date, but there, there wasn't really a final straw, to be honest with you. It wasn't like there was one certain factor that was like, okay, that's it. I felt like it was almost more of a mood thing,
Mm-hmm.
to be honest with you. Because, I mean, Colorado is opening up to tourism. There's nothing saying that you can't come and visit here. I just felt like with all the other events being canceled, I felt like there would be a lot of eyes on us.
Mm-hmm.
And being a race director, it's very interesting how you kind of personalize everything to some degree that's happening out there. And I just don't feel comfortable sending. I mean, even in a normal year, I think that a race director has qualms about who's going to show up because really have no idea who's going to show up and if they're going to have good backcountry epics, if they're going to be nice on the trail,
Right.
all those things. And I felt like in this circumstance, it was just too much of a risk to ask people I don't know and I can't depend on to follow certain procedures. And I just feel like it sucks to skip a year, but I feel like if it was a detriment to the future of the Colorado Trail Race, that would be much more of a thing to lose than to skip a year.
Yeah.
And it's still open to ITTs.
Okay. That was my
There's
next
still going to
question.
be track leaders available as long as there's no stay-at-home orders in the state of Colorado. You'll still be able to rent a spot. You can still have dot following.
Yeah.
I'll still record your time if you follow the rules in the route. There's just not going to be a group start. And even small group starts, if you want to start with a couple of your buddies, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I just don't want it to be more than 10 people.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, as we all figured out, you could be a carrier and not show any symptoms. So,
Yeah.
bringing the virus to a small town that can't necessarily handle it is not a good situation. So, I think as far as just canceling the group start and the mass start is definitely a great idea. Was there any kind of direction with, I don't know if you ever talked to like the Colorado Trail Foundation or if they have any stance on even backpackers or bikers touring the route. Do you know their stance with this at all?
Yeah, I talked with Bill at the Colorado Trail Foundation for a good bit a couple weeks ago, and basically his take on it is they're not telling people not to go.
Yeah.
They're just giving them the information necessary to make it a good choice. And he kind of filled me in with a lot of things that I hadn't really been thinking of, like the Colorado Trail Foundation organizes a bunch of trail crews,
Mm-hmm.
and they're responsible, like just those trail crews
Yeah.
take out 400 to 500 trees off the trail every year. And I know that there's a lot of trees that are taken out by other groups, by motorcyclists, individuals, etc. So just that factor alone is a huge difference, potentially. Some of them might be removed by the time the race would have started, but the fact of the matter is it's a different world out there. And it's just because they can't have groups of people come together to do trail work. So, and then other things like, towns might require you to have a mask, or not require you, but businesses might require you to have a mask, little things like that.
Yeah.
And then also more on the backpacking side of things, but a lot of people will hitchhike into towns to get, post office boxes or to get resupplies or get a meal. and hitchhiking is probably going to be pretty tricky.
Yep.
And that was another thing. And there's also a fair amount of shuttle. Like, I don't know if they're official, but you can get shuttled from start to finish.
Yep.
And he said that none of their shuttlers, I think, are working this summer, and just little things like that.
Yeah.
Definitely. But they're not saying no.
Got
Once again, they're just putting the information out there.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. Cool. So, I mean, I think as far as like you giving people like almost a 2-month period, basically, where you're like, all right, did you kind of figure out, all right, I want, like you set a certain date when you were going to decide when to cancel it? Because I know that, like, I was kind of not frustrated, but just like, well, what's going on with like the Tour Divide? Because I had planned on riding it this year, and there really wasn't anybody saying anything. And then I think it kind of just evolved with like the border being closed, and then campgrounds in BC weren't open to non-residents, and then Brush Mountain isn't going to be open all summer. So the kind of the trickle down effect. But did you kind of decide, like set a certain date on when you were going to kind of decide on yes or no?
Yeah, and I tried to keep information flowing and not just like all of a sudden come out with a yes or no. Mm-hmm. So I was trying to like, just so people could kind of plan around it. And I was definitely hinting at that there was be a good chance that it wasn't going to happen this year. A lot just because there's some people who travel internationally. And I know that it's a big deal for a lot of people to get the time off from work. And I just wanted to acknowledge that it's a big deal, and it's a big mark on the calendar for a lot of people, and just give them as much time as possible to change their plans and come up with something else to do.
Yeah, cool. Sweet. Yeah, well, the CTR is a big deal. I mean, it's one of the most popular bikepacking races out there. Is definitely one of the most popular single track specific bikepacking races.
Yeah.
So yeah, enough about that. Just real quick, like, what's like your love of the CT? Why do you love it so much? And why do you think other people are so drawn to it?
Why do I love the CT so much? I mean, my first trip on the CT was a backpacking trip. And it was, I think it would be fair to say it was life changing. And I would say after doing that, it was one of my first backpacking trips, to be honest. I hiked the northern half of the trail, and I went from green to fairly seasoned fairly quick, and it got in my blood, something's fierce, and I just been kind of chasing those dreams ever since, to be honest with you. And I think the Colorado Trail, it's Colorado, not to make a blank statement like that, but it's really pretty. But it's also, it varies, you go through some fairly like low granity, deserty kind of stuff. And then you obviously get up into some really gorgeous high country, and just, it's hard. And I think that's a lot of it too is, and I think for a lot of people who live in Colorado, it's kind of iconic. And I think the race itself has become iconic because it is somewhat legendary in its difficulty. Yeah. And some years it's very, very difficult because of weather and stuff like that. So I think that there's, just like the Tour Divide, it's got its history. Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. And you also host another race.
Yep.
What's that all about? And any decisions on canceling that or anything?
Yeah, that's the Gunny Loop. It's actually 2 loops that start and finish in Gunnison Labor Day weekend. And I haven't decided on that one. It's in September, so I'm hoping things are a little bit mellower by then. It also has a fairly low attendance. Yeah. I think the most I've ever started is 10 people. So honestly, I think I'm going to carry on with that unless things get really weird or I get a lot of interest. And I think with that, I would feel comfortable enough too, because it's somewhat invitational. Cool. That the caliber of the rider might be a little bit more dependable. Yeah. And I think it would be easier even if I had 30 people show up, which would be, I think, huge, like a huge number. I would just do a staggered start of 10 people. Yeah. And I considered doing that with the CT as well. But if you had like 80 to 100 people, like how are you going to stagger that in one parking lot without creating a huge cluster? Yeah. Like, how the Waterton parking lot is, even normal year. It's just nuts.
Yeah. Yeah, well, between racers, their families, and then just day users, it's busy.
Yeah.
Even at 6 in the morning or whatever.
Yeah.
Cool. So what, you have any other plans of racing? I know you have a relatively new child, Lillian.
Yeah, 14 months. Yeah.
It's super exciting for you and Rachel. What's going on with Jefe?
Well, I was planning on doing an ITT of the Arizona Trail 800 in April. And that was literally when everything kind of got super crazy. So obviously postponed that. My hope is that the race, the Grand Depart for the AZT will happen in October, and I'm hoping to do that.
Cool.
I also qualified. I did my second qualifier for ITT or ITI, in Alaska.
Yep.
And not sure how that's all going to transpire. I had a few people who were going to try to help me with some of that expense. And COVID has kind of changed that situation a little bit. Yeah. So I'm not sure I still have the support that I had before. Yeah. But that's still on the radar for sure.
Cool. Sweet. Yeah. And you would do the 350, I would assume then, right?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yep.
Well, that either way, there's things on the calendar to look forward to.
I mean, there'll be something going on.
Yeah. And you recently got a new bike. Did I see that on social?
Yeah. I got a Y Big Iron.
Nice.
Yeah.
Super exciting.
Yeah, and I'm going to be getting a new Rebel here probably another month.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah, I've been actually trying to get on the horn with Adam, so hopefully we can do an interview with him and Chris. That would be nice.
Cool. Yeah, I think he's on the horn a lot.
Yeah, he is. I know. I've been trying to email back and forth. So yeah.
Right.
Busy people.
Yeah.
Cool, Jefe. Well, anything else to add? It's good chatting with you.
Yeah, it's so good to see you, Neil. Haven't seen you in a long time.
I know, it's been a while. Yeah, just full kind of disclosure for the folks watching right now. Jefe used to be my mechanic when I lived in Gunnison Crested Butte area, and he always worked on my bike. I would always bring it to Jefe, so I do miss that for sure.
Yeah, no, I miss working on your bikes for sure.
Yeah.
Not much. I just hope everyone's doing okay out there, and I know everyone's kind of antsy with the situation and all the races being canceled, but it'll come back. It might be a little weird, but it'll come back, and hopefully next year we'll all get to race ourselves into oblivion. So
exactly.
Yeah. And I think we all are realizing too that there's a lot bigger things going on in this world that deserve attention too.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Totally. Bike racing is a luxury.
Yep.
We're lucky to do it. Yeah.
Wise words.
Yeah, but I'm looking forward to do it again soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, Jefe. Well, thanks so much for the info. I appreciate all of your knowledge and wisdom. And if anybody wanted to kind of get more information on the Colorado Trail, say if they wanted to race it, Colorado Trail race, that is, if they wanted to race it next year, where would they go?
There's a Facebook page, Colorado Trail Facebook page, and then the Colorado Trail Race Facebook page, I should say. And then there's also my website, which is jwookie1.com. Has information there. There's the Loopy Loop information too. So
sweet, perfect. Well, I'll put that in the show notes. And as always, thank you so much, Jefe, and we'll chat with you soon.
Yeah, you and Lindsay take care.
Yeah, thanks.